contemplating retirement. He is a family man. He's a very religious man as well, and he's been taking it conservative all weekend, and I think he's beginning to feel the pace a little bit here this afternoon.
Just look at who has the fastest speed on that last lap, Jeremy. It was Adrian Fernandez. The little arrows just pointing out who had the fastest lap on that last lap of all of them. And it was the Mexican Fernandez, who's at the moment running down in 12th position, and he's running a Lola, don't forget. And yet he's just put up the fastest speed in, certainly on that last lap, not necessarily overall in this race, but on that last lap, a great performance from Fernandez. And I wonder whether he's going to be able to maintain that sort of performance throughout the course of the afternoon. Gugelmin leads. There's Andretti in second. Vassar still there in third place. And then Michel Jourdain not far behind in fourth. And then Andre Ribeiro leads Marc Blundell in fifth and sixth places. And things now at last beginning to settle down into some sort of rhythm. Thankfully, after all those dramas and delays at the beginning of the race, now we are settling down a little bit. Some reports that Bobby Rahal has got a little bit of a handling problem with his car. It's a little bit loose, apparently, he's reporting back to the pits, whereas Brian Herter is extremely happy with the performance of his car. He's down in 8th position, but he doesn't seem to be too worried about the handling of the car at this early time in the race, with 38 laps completed now. And if we'd run with a green flag right from the beginning, we would have expected the leaders to be coming in around this point. But of course, with all that yellow flag running, it'll be several more laps before we see the first round of true pit stops from the guys in the top 10. Let's just quickly go through that top 10. You can see the positions on the top left-hand corner of your screen. It's Gugelmin, Andretti, Vassar, Jourdain in fourth, then Ribeiro, Blundell is sixth, Greg Moore is in seventh, Brian Herter eighth, Gilles de Ferran is ninth, and Raul Boesel is the last one in the top 10 at the moment. And as you can see, there's just around 13 seconds separating the first 10 cars at the moment.
There is Brian Herter there. He's running in 8th position, as we've said. He slipped back a little bit, and right behind them is Gilles de Ferran. There's two Goodyear-tired cars. We're going to keep a close eye on the tyre situation this weekend. At the front of the field, of course, Mauricio Gugelmin has Firestone tyres. There's a crash right in front. Arndt Meyer has gone off the road in front of us. He hit the wall heavily. A lick of flame from the back of the car.
Yeah, we've got two cars. It looks as though is that Max Pappi's car down there? It's a very, oh my word, that's the car of one of the target cars. That could be Leyendijk's car. And Arndt Meyer there as well. Difficult to see which car that is of the two target cars, but that really has been a horrendous accident. The whole back end of the car has been ripped off, and that is just down on the entrance to the pit lane. Here we have a replay of what happened. Let's see, Arndt Meyer spun the car and bang! Nowhere to go, right in front of the camera there, and just absolutely nowhere for the Ganassi car to go except for straight into the wall. And in fact, look, there was even another impact as they came together following the initial impact. A dramatic accident there indeed, and of course the kart safety crew immediately down there very, very quickly to tend to the drivers. Arndt Meyer has got out of his car, I can tell you. Let's take a look from on board. Arie Luyendyk it is who is involved in this accident. Watch for the spinning car up front. Arndt Meyer loses it in front of him. Bang! Oh, he had no chance there at all, did he? He was just straight into the front end of Arndt Meyer's car, and look at the amount of debris around on the track there. Again, take a look at the car low down, very low down, Meyer, when the back end stepped away from him. And watch for Arie Luyendyk. One car got past safely, but then he just spun directly into the path of the Dutchman, who is driving this weekend in place of Alex Zanardi, starting from the back. Remember, he was flown in here by Chip Ganassi to take over this car from Alex Zanardi, who crashed on Friday, was unable to compete this weekend. And Arie Luyendyk has just gone out of the race in the most dramatic fashion. And of course, the main concern now is how Arie Luyendyk is. The team obviously looking concerned, but they're also getting ready for Jimmy Vassar to perhaps make a pit stop. We are going to see the leaders presumably coming into the pits fairly early. They haven't opened the pits yet, though. The pits are currently closed. As soon as they open them, then the cars from the lead lap will be able to come in and make their initial round of stops. So from that point of view, things have fallen into place for the lead group, but the main concerns at the moment, of course, are with Arie Luyendyk and the wrecked car, which sits down on the entrance to the pit lane, and certainly a bit of a hush over the whole circuit at the moment, as everybody just hopes and patiently waits that Arie Luyendyk is taken out of the car. So we'll keep an eye on that situation. We've actually got a view down to the incident from our commentary box at the moment. The leader's coming round on the tri-oval part of this track, the curve of the D that makes this 2-mile speedway. And Maurizio Gugelmin, our race leader right from the start of this one, completed 42 laps now, with 207 laps still scheduled to go. Michael Andretti still in second place, and Jimmy Vasser in third. We're taking another look from the overhead view there, and that's just decimation of the car as it went into the wall. The wheels all over the place, just completely destroyed it. But remember, these tubs are incredibly strong. The monocoque chassis, built out of carbon fiber, driving a Reynard in this case, and the Reynard chassis have stood up to some incredible impacts over the last few years, and they really are incredibly well built and incredibly strong. But of course, an accident at well over 230 miles an hour, edging up to 240 miles an hour, involves an immense amount of energy. There's the crew at work down there, and they will take their time, whatever the situation is with the driver. They will take their time to get him out of the car, because obviously always the concerns about neck injuries. They have to take their time. Even if the driver is perfectly okay, they will often spend a long time to get it right. Let's see if Guy Hobbs has got any news down in the pit lane. Guy?
Yeah, Ben, we're down in the Liondike pit area where the crew obviously is packing up already, but they spoke on the radio, and Ari just said he had absolutely nowhere to go, and that was all they heard from him, because the radio got destroyed in the car. The whole right-hand side of the car is destroyed. That's the third car of the weekend for this team, although it's the end of the season, as Jimmy Vasser comes in to make his pit stop under yellow. Also, just to remind you, all the accidents we've seen this weekend have taken place coming out of turn 3 and turn 4. That really seems to be the trouble spot. And an update on the Firestones. I spoke to the Firestone folks, and they said they're having no problems with the right rears as far as blistering.
Pit stops being made. Michael Andretti and the Newman Haas crew have made a great pit stop. They've got themselves ahead of Maurizio Gugelmin and Jimmy Vasser. So Andretti is going to take over the lead of this race under yellow flags, but because of the pit stops, so a very rapid stop indeed from the Newman Haas crew. And well, there are still bits of debris. There's a wheel nut down in the pit lane. Now that's interesting.
Oh, that seems to be Maurizio Gugelmin's crew retrieving that. We don't know whether it was from his car or whether it was from somebody else, but a loose wheel nut is not generally good news in the pit lane, let's put it that way.
No, that's right. I hope that that's an old one that they that didn't need to go on the car. We'll soon find out, because Maurizio will have a very wobbly wheel. Let's wait and see what happens there. Still the attention being given down there to Ari Luyendyk. It's good to hear that he was able to report to his pits before the radio went down on his car, so that's a good signal indeed. And you can see now the cars that are a lap down or more are now making their stop. They have to come in a lap after the guys on the lead lap, and you can see Parker Johnston and Walter Sales there coming into the pit lane now. Parker Johnston had of course taken over the lead of the race up until that point because of the pit stops being made by everybody else, but that's all gradually changing now. Looks as though Richie Hearn has stayed out there though. He hasn't come into the pits yet, so he's now being shown as our race leader. But Michael Andretti is well up there. He is effectively the race leader, although he lies second on the road at the moment, followed by Gugelmin, Vasser, Jourdain and Blundell. So no major changes on those pit stops, as Sales looks as though he got ahead of Johnston on that one.
Yeah, Alonso Jr. is back in the pits. There seems to be some smoke coming out of that car as he pulls into. There is a lot of smoke coming out of the back car.
Yep, engine problems for Alonso Jr., end of Penske number 2. And that means the Penske team can pack up early as well. They've already lost Paul Tracy as a result of a heavy accident, and now Al is helped out of the car because they're afraid that that car is setting itself alight. So Al clambers out and ends what has been a torrid season for him particularly. It's been a pretty poor season for Penske, although at least they've had some race wins this year. But personally for Al, it's been a very tough season. Really hasn't featured in the championship chase at all this year. 12th position in the points coming into this race, and he'll be glad, I think, to get the 1997 season over and done with.
Yeah, it's astonishing, isn't it, that the car should go so well early on the ovals and yet struggling so much towards the end of the season. And there'll be a lot of people in that team glad this is over.
The clear-up operation after Ari Luyendyk's accident continues, and in fact Ari Luyendyk has just been carted off in the ambulance. And look, great sign there, thumbs up from Arie Luyendyk to all his fans around the world. And he's basically saying, I'm basically okay. Now, we've heard that his condition is certainly not life-threatening. It looks as though, although he may have injuries, that they're not really critical injuries. So that's good news to hear. And I mean, that really was such a horrendous-looking accident into the wall. Terrible luck, though, for Arie Luyendyk on his return to the kart series, isn't it?
Oh, boy, yeah. And, you know, there's been, well, if we talk about injuries, the series he regularly races in, the Indy Racing League, has been criticised this year. There have been an amazing number of incidents. We've had almost 30 drivers taken to hospital over the last 18 months or so in incidents regarding the IRL. But this series has been, thankfully, pretty safe. But, you know, these high-speed ovals, when you're going to have an accident, it's going to be a big one. There's no such thing as a small accident, and look at that absolutely nose on there.
That is frightening, isn't it?
You know, that's the thing about these oval tracks. I mean, they're spectacular to watch. But so far as the drivers are concerned, skill does not come into it when you have a problem like that. If anything goes wrong, you're going to have a crash. And it's really a question of whether the big chap upstairs is smiling on you. If he is, you can walk away from it and have nothing, not even a scratch. If he's looking the other way at the time, you'll have a little bit of a problem. And Arie there seems to be, thankfully, he seems to be not seriously hurt, and that's great news for Luyendyk. You know, they've made remarkable progress on these cars over the last 5-10 years. They are amazingly strong. That was a Reynard car, of course, built in Bicester, and those guys have just done a fantastic job on building safe race cars. And it's a tribute to the entire kart series that worked so hard on the safety aspects.
So the scene overhead as everything is hopefully cleared up, and such sad news, as we say, for Arie Luyendyk, particularly for all our Eurosport viewers. And of course, Arie will have many fans in Europe. The Dutchman who came over here to America to make his career in motorsport. He had success in Europe in the Formula Super V categories before he came over to America, but really has made his name over here. And his wins in the Indy 500, of course, really established him as a star in the United States. And then in recent years, he raced for the Ganassi team, in fact, for a couple of seasons, and has come back with that team. But it's just so disappointing. Isn't it ironic that we've had two European drivers hit each other there? I mean, Art Meyer lost the car. Nothing he could do. It was just one of those things. But there was nowhere for Luyendyk to go. A head-on collision, really, at 230 miles an hour. Yeah,
Art Meyer was awfully low on the track there. We've seen that as a cause. That certainly was the cause, really, I think, of Richie Hearn's accident on the first morning on Friday when he was driving the Swift chassis for John Della Penna. And that was, he attributed that to getting down onto that white line. That is a transition where the banking begins, and it's quite a heavy transition there. The angles are quite substantial. It takes away, if you get onto that transition, it'll take away the downforce of the car, and you're a passenger from there on in. And you can see quite clearly, I think, that Arndt was on that white line, and perhaps even a fraction below it. And as soon as he did that, away the car goes, and passenger from there on.
So, as the Kart Medical Centre, there it is. It's just opposite us, really, where our commentary position is. There's a helicopter stationed right next to it as well, in case the seriously injured drivers have to be taken off to the nearby medical hospital. In fact, it's the Loma Linda University Medical Centre they're using in the region here. And in fact, Patrick Carpentier had to be taken there the other day to be checked over after his accident. But hopefully Arie Luyendyk will be stabilised in that centre and then taken off to hospital if it is necessary. So that medical centre going to work, and I have to say it is a remarkably effective centre. I had a look round inside, and Dr. Steve Olvey, who runs the whole medical operation, really does a great job. Let's go down to Guy Hobbs, who's got some more information.
Yeah, we're down in the Penske pit with Al Unser, of course, a great name in American racing, but a name certainly famous throughout the world. Al, it's been a rotten season for you and capped off by pretty much a rotten event here today.
Yeah, well, we were working with the car there at the beginning of the race. This is the hottest day that we've had over the 3 days. The track's awful slippery right now. The wind's not helping very much. But we were waiting to change the car and make the changes, and start getting the car working throughout the event. We ended up having a broken header or something like that, which caused the fire. And, what can I say? It's been a tough year all season. This car really hadn't performed well, but we got great plans for next year. We're going back to Reading and Pennsylvania and totally build us a new car.
Now all the guys back in Poole, England will be watching right now. Do you have a word for them?
Definitely. I mean, I can't wait to drive the new car, you know, and we'll just see what happens. I mean, it's been a tough couple years, and they have worked their tails off, and I can't ask anything more from any car company whatsoever.